are miniatures of the greatest creator. It's like watching children playing house. Now let's continue to explore why we can't sense the existence of the greatest creator and the influence of the greatest creator's spirit on us. I believe this is simply a matter of different levels of wisdom. If our understanding remains stuck at the first level, like a frog at the bottom of a well, we cannot know or understand the colorful and magnificent world outside the well. Even if other frogs tell us how variegated the outside world is, we still cannot believe it and even think that other frogs are exaggerating things to scare people and be deliberately mystifying. If our understanding is limited to the second realm, like a frog in a pond, we cannot imagine the thousand waves and vast wonders of rivers, lakes, and oceans. The greatest creator is within us, and the greatest creator is always with us. We resonate with the greatest creator, and whether you can sense it or not depends entirely on the degree of your spiritual resonance. A low-quality television set cannot receive audio and video signals transmitted by television stations. Even if it does, the image is not clear, or there is a lot of noise, making it difficult to hear what the announcer is saying. A black and white TV cannot receive color images. Even if the quality of the TV is very good, if it does not receive the right frequency, it cannot receive the required signal. Having no wings, I can't fly to you as I please. Our hearts is one. Your ears can hear my inner call. Resonance occurs at the same frequency, and resonant communication occurs when frequencies are the same. Corresponding relationship, ways of communication. All things are part of the greatest creator, but the greatest creator is not all things. Fingers are part of a human, but humans are not just fingers. Embassies represent countries, but countries are not just embassies. Scientists belong to science, but science is not just scientists. Religions exist for gods, but gods do not exist for religions. Understanding these principles will help us understand the corresponding relationship between humans and the greatest creator. The greatest creator and all things are interdependent, and the key to this interdependence is resonance. Once we understand this, we can find a way to correspond with the greatest creator, ways of communication. Just as we need to tune in to the appropriate frequency to listen to a radio station, or dial the appropriate phone number to call someone, we must connect our souls with the greatest creator's Holy Spirit to communicate with the greatest creator. The greatest creator does not have a name, but for convenience, people have given him many names. Jesus calls the greatest creator the Heavenly Father. Muslims call the greatest creator Allah. Buddhists call the greatest creator the ancestor of Buddha Tathagata. Taoists call the greatest creator the primordial heavenly venerable, and others call the greatest creator the creator, imperial heaven, azure heaven, heaven of the four heavenly kings, and Brahma heaven, and so on. Some people also refer to the greatest creator as Heavenly Grandfather. In reality, all of these names are acceptable as long as we call upon the unique and exclusive, amorphous, neutral, mysterious, supremely powerful, intelligent, impartial, and merciful greatest creator in the universe from the depths of our hearts, regardless of the respectful name we use. Life Genuine combines the characteristics of three major religions and refers to the greatest creator. Allah, ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator. I solemnly declare here that it is absolutely wrong for some people to call the founder of Buddhism, Shakyamuni, as the ancestor of Buddha. Shakyamuni is only a special envoy sent by the ancestor Buddha to the world. If we were to call the special envoys in Chinese history emperors, it would be a capital offense. Similarly, some denominations of Christianity believe in the Trinity, and therefore calling Jesus God, the greatest creator, is also incorrect. We cannot call a father a grandfather, can we? We understand the relationship between ourselves and the greatest creator, but what is the specific way to connect with the greatest creator? The specific way to connect with the greatest creator is through meditation and prayer. Meditation is the act of abandoning psychological activities caused by sound, smell, taste, touch, and law in a state of inaction, entering into deep contemplation and imagination, casting aside fame and fortune, life and death, and pondering the mysteries of the universe and the true essence of life. Over time, our consciousness will unite with that of the greatest creator, and our wisdom will make a qualitative leap. When our mind reaches an indescribable sense of happiness and joy, we have already established a close connection with the greatest creator. This is the most direct, effective, and challenging way to connect with the greatest creator. The being free from mortal body during meditation method I mentioned in the physical and spiritual healthcare chapter is one form of meditation. The second way is through prayer. We must first understand that the purpose of human existence is to serve the greatest creator. The main purpose of our prayer is to please the greatest creator. In terms of how to pray, the way of prayer, and the content of prayer, Jesus Christ has already told us very clearly. We just need to follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. Generally speaking, prayer must come from a sincere heart and not be perfunctory or half-hearted. The content of prayer must first sincerely thank the greatest creator for his grace, kindness, and care, and then sing and praise the greatest creator's wisdom, superpower, and greatness. Next, we must declare that we are willing to act and live according to the greatest creator's will, not concerned about personal success or failure. Then, we must repent and confess our sins and mistakes in a thorough and honest way, in order to ask the greatest creator for forgiveness. Finally, we should ask the greatest creator to help us walk the right path and enter a higher realm of life in the afterlife. The conclusion should state that our prayer is made in the name of Jesus Christ, who is the Father of humanity in heaven. Prayer is a personal act, not a social one. Shouting loudly and deliberately making others hear your prayer is hypocritical and useless. We must silently and quietly pray, and not necessarily say it out loud, because our psychological activities will become a kind of thought wave, just like electroencephalograms and electrocardiograms, sending our wishes to the vast universe. The greatest creator will surely respond to us. In addition, since we ourselves are also a component of the greatest creator, if we hear our own prayers, it signals that the greatest creator has also heard them. When praying, we must be careful not to have evil thoughts, such as praying for someone to have bad luck, praying for wealth and fame, praying for the glory of our ancestors, or blaming the greatest creator for unfairness, as these thoughts will be accepted by the devil and will eventually cause harm to ourselves. Because evil thoughts are not on the same frequency as the greatest creator, but are on the same frequency as the devil. Why should we connect with the greatest creator? I will answer this in the chapter of life. The God promoted in the Old Testament of the Bible is not the greatest creator. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Tsong Long and Ailian. First of all, we need to acknowledge that the Bible is the crystallization of the wisdom of the Israeli nation. It faithfully records the history of the Jewish people and explains to the utmost the relationship between gods and demons and human beings, pointing the way forward for humanity. The Bible, along with the Quran, Buddhist scriptures, and the Tao Te Ching, is a treasure trove of human wisdom, a book of treasures that teaches us how to be human and how to develop towards higher levels of life. The opening statement of the Bible is true, but not everything covered by the sacred robe is necessarily sacred, and not everyone who wears the sacred robe is necessarily an abbot in charge. The Bible has a problem, and that is that the God promoted in it is not the real greatest creator. We already know that the greatest creator has 8 main features: uniqueness and exclusivity, formlessness, neutrality, mystery, impartiality, mercy, supreme power, and intelligence. Intelligence is mainly manifested in the establishment of the universe order, the design of the life program, and the knowledge of the past and the future. So, does the God in the Bible possess these 8 features? Let's take a few examples to illustrate. Adam and Eve's betrayal. In the book of Genesis, it is said that Adam and Eve, under the temptation of the serpent, ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which God had forbidden them to eat, and as a result, they disobeyed God's will and were expelled from the Garden of Eden. This event shows that the God in the Bible is A. Powerless, B. Lacks foresight, C. Unjust. His powerlessness is evident in that he was a failure from the beginning. The first couple he created betrayed him. How can we believe in a God who often fails? The flood killed most of humanity, and what about the future humanity? They still don't listen to him. Moses' 10 Commandments were God's instructions in the Bible, but how many have humans obeyed? Not a single one has been sincerely followed. It seems that God in the Bible is helpless when it comes to humans. The only way is to threaten and threaten again. If you don't do this or that, you will be punished. It has been thousands of years, from the beginning to now, and humanity is still the same. Is there really no other way? Is there other force constraining this almighty God? If so, is God not the only one? Humanity has been going against you for thousands of years. What are you waiting for? The lack of foresight in the God of the Bible is shown in his ignorance of Adam and Eve's betrayal, and his lack of knowledge about the future development trend of the things he created. Can we rely on a God who cannot predict the past and the future? If the Earth were to fly out of the solar system and you didn't know, how could you save humanity? If you can't even manage humans, how can you manage gods and demons? How can you manage the vast universe? The unfairness of God in the Bible is manifested in his failure to distinguish right from wrong and a lack of reasoning. There are three reasons why Adam and Eve betrayed him. Firstly, the genetic structure of Adam and Eve, which he created, was flawed or imperfect. The things he created turned against him, causing him to become angry and frustrated. This is like an architect working hard to build a house, but the house collapses just as the project is completed and falls on his feet. Should he blame the house or blame himself? The second reason for the betrayal is the temptation and instigation of the snake. Adam and Eve were human beings, and the power behind the snake was Satan, the devil. Human energy and wisdom are unable to contend with evil, and yet God did not punish the devil, the culprit, but instead vented his anger on Adam and Eve, banishing them from the Garden of Eden. Is this fair? If a rapist rapes an 8-year-old girl, and instead of punishing the rapist, he blames the girl for having a weak resistance and for having developed a vagina, is this fair? The third and most important reason for the betrayal is the damned tree of knowledge of good and evil. Who planted it in the Garden of Eden? Why did they plant it? It's like putting poisonous candy on a child's dinner table. Is this not intentionally creating a situation where there is no silver in this place? On the one hand, constantly showing pornographic videos to young girls, and on the other hand, pretending to demand that they remain chaste. Is this the behavior of a moral person? Is it not the cunning and wicked person who planted the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden that led to Adam and Eve's betrayal? Furthermore, for a person who can create the universe, is banishing Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden the only solution? Is there no other way? Is it fair to not even give a chance to correct a mistake made once? Is it fair to be guilty for a lifetime for one mistake? Jesus came to the world mainly to redeem sinners. According to the logic of the Bible, people have original sin, which comes from the ancestors of humanity, Adam and Eve, and their sin was caused by eating the fruit from the cursed tree of knowledge of good and evil. From the moment we were born, we have been burdened with the original sin inherited from Adam and Eve. This cross is too heavy to bear. The logical conclusion of this reasoning is, the son of a thief is always a thief. The son of a criminal is always a criminal. The children of landlords, rich peasants, counter-revolutionaries, bad elements, and rightists will always be labeled as the 5 black categories. The son of an emperor is always an emperor. No wonder in human history, especially in the feudal era, one person commits a crime and 9 generations suffer. No wonder, when one person ascends to the Tao, the whole family prospers. No wonder the emperor doesn't take turns to reign and instead lets an ignorant child inherit the throne at the age of 3. It turns out that all of these conform to the logic of the Bible. If there is guilt, firstly it is on God in the Bible and Satan. Just for Adam and Eve, over 100 billion people throughout human history have had to suffer. How can this be humane? Why not execute Adam and Eve at that time and then create humans again? Is it really that difficult for God in the Bible to create a person? Humans are born with sin, which is why every person who comes into this world has to suffer. But this sin is not inherited from our ancestors, but something that each person creates themselves in their past lives. If a person has no sin, they would become a deity or a Buddha. The 10 plagues of Egypt are recorded in the book of Exodus. When Moses and Aaron asked Pharaoh to let the Israelites leave Egypt in the name of the God in the Bible, they were refused. As a result, the God in the Bible brought 10 plagues upon the Egyptians. 1. The water of the Nile turned into blood, and the fish in the river died, causing a foul odor to arise. 2. Frogs jumped out of the Nile and spread throughout the land of Egypt, causing a foul odor. 3. The dust of the land of Egypt turned into lice, crawling on the bodies of people and animals. 4. Swarms of flies plagued Egypt. 5. A plague killed almost all of Egypt's livestock. 6. Boils appeared on the bodies of the Egyptians. 7. A rare hailstorm occurred. 8. Locusts ate up all the green plants that were left after the hail. 9. Darkness covered Egypt for 3 days. 10. The firstborn of both people and livestock were killed. If we say that God punished Egypt because Pharaoh did not obey God's will, it can be understood. But killing the firstborn of both people and animals in Egypt is a bit too much, unreasonable. If the Egyptian emperor does not listen to you, you can punish him, but why bring disaster to ordinary people? Even worse, even the children of the slave girls who are at the bottom of society, like donkeys pushing mills, are not spared and must be killed. Does such a God have mercy? This is simply the behavior of a devil that destroys humanity. What is even more hateful is that the main reason why Pharaoh did not allow the Israelites to leave Egypt is that the God in the Bible made Pharaoh's heart hardened. Before the 10 plagues occurred, the God in the Bible had already made preparations. Exodus 7 verse 3 records, "But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and though I multiply my signs and wonders in Egypt." This means that the God in the Bible had set a trap for the Egyptians but was finding ways to punish them. Exodus 8 verse 19 says, "But when Pharaoh saw that there was a respite, he hardened his heart and hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said." Exodus 9 verse 35 says, "And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, neither would he let the children of Israel go, as the Lord had spoken by Moses." Exodus 10 verse 20 says, "But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go." Exodus 10 verse 27 says, "But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go." Exodus 11 verse 10 says, "And Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his land." It was the God in the Bible who allowed the Israelites to leave Egypt, but also the same God who made Pharaoh's heart hardened and caused many problems, not allowing the Israelites to leave Egypt easily. What is the God in the Bible doing? On the one hand, he encourages the people to rebel, while on the other hand, he informs the government authorities and encourages them to brutally suppress the rebellion. Isn't this person a schemer and a two-faced person? Is this what God looks like? The Israelites are God's chosen people. The Bible is divided into 2 parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament refers to events before the birth of Jesus, and the New Testament refers to events after his birth. The term testament refers to a covenant, contract, or agreement. The entire Bible mainly deals with the covenant, contract, and agreement between God and the Israelites. This raises a paradox. There are probably more than 3,000 ethnic groups in the world. Why did God make a covenant only with the Israelites? Aren't other ethnic groups also God's people? If so, God cannot make a covenant only with the Israelites and ignore other ethnic groups. If not, where did other ethnic groups come from? Did Adam and Eve not serve as the ancestors of all humanity, only the ancestors of the Israelites? Were people of other ethnic groups created by the devil? From the creation to the Great Flood is 1,656 years. From the Great Flood to the Exodus from Egypt is a total of 857 years. From the Exodus to the establishment of the Israelite nation is 396 years. From the establishment to the Babylonian exile is 510 years. From the Babylonian exile to the rebuilding of Jerusalem is 152 years. From the rebuilding of Jerusalem to the birth of Jesus is approximately 450 years. From the birth of Jesus to today is a total of 2,003 years. According to the calculations in the Bible, human history is approximately 6,376 years. According to the Bible, only 8 people, Noah, his wife, and his 3 sons and their wives, survived the Great Flood, which occurred about 4,700 years ago. That means there were no other people on Earth besides Noah's family. This raises a series of questions. First, where did Native Americans come from? According to the theory of continental drift, the separation of the American continent from other continents could not have occurred within the past 4,700 years. How did Noah's descendants travel from the Middle East to America? Moreover, after the Great Flood, Noah's family consisted of only 8 people, and it is impossible that they immediately dispersed. Noah could not have sent one of his sons and his daughter-in-law to cross the freezing Siberia and take the risk of crossing the Bering Strait to America. The second question is about where the black people in Africa came from. From a genetic perspective, black, yellow, and white people all have their own ancestors. A pair of purebred white people cannot produce a black or yellow person, even with evolution. Even if we talk about evolution, the Israelites could not have evolved into black or yellow people within 4,700 years. Moreover, according to Darwin's theory of evolution, it is the survival of the fittest. Could the Israelites who wrote the Bible have evolved into African Americans? No matter how we comfort our black brothers, they are not superior to the Israelites in terms of intelligence. As for the Chinese nation, the appearance of the emperor was about 4,600 years ago, and the story of Dayu controlling floods was about 4,200 years ago. From a time span perspective, the descendants of Noah could not have come to the Central Plains just over 100 years after the Great Flood. Even if they could have come to the Central Plains, could they have reproduced so many people in 400 years to follow Dayu to control the floods? Where did the Chinese nation come from? Can Dayu's flood control be understood as controlling the Great Flood of that time? From the perspective of the Bible, the theory of biological evolution cannot be recognized, because once the theory of biological evolution is recognized, the theory of God creating humanity is undoubtedly denied. But if we deny the theory of biological evolution, we cannot explain the origins of black and yellow people, and we cannot say that Adam and Eve are the common ancestors of humanity. The story of Cain and Abel. After Adam and Eve were banished from the Garden of Eden, their first child was Cain, and their second child was Abel. One day, Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to the Lord. Abel also brought the firstborn of his flock and their fat. The Lord favored Abel and his offering, but he did not favor Cain and his offering. As a result, out of jealousy, Cain killed his own brother, Abel. We want to ask God in the Bible, why did you only accept Abel's offering but not Cain's? Isn't Cain's jealousy and the subsequent murder of his brother Abel a trouble of your own making? If you didn't show partiality, how could you provoke Cain's jealousy? Why is it that the people you created caused so much trouble? Adam and Eve disobeyed you, and their sons ended up killing each other. Can't you, as God, solve these problems? Or is this your deliberate plan? Cain was a murderer and should have been punished severely, but you said, anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over. This is a non-standard morality. If you don't punish the criminal, that's one thing. But if someone else punishes the criminal, they should receive 7 times the punishment? Isn't this protecting the criminal? No wonder human history has been filled with bloodshed and crime for thousands of years. It turns out that God in the Bible is protecting criminals. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over. Cain is a criminal, so we can fully understand it as, anyone who kills a criminal will suffer vengeance 7 times over. From this, it seems that it is better to be a criminal, as at least someone will protect you. If you're a good person, not only will no one protect you, but you'll also suffer 7 times the punishment. Then there are the prophets and dreams in the Bible. The prophets are representatives of God on earth with incomprehensible wisdom and ability. This makes us ordinary people unable to distinguish between truth and lies. If someone says, I am a prophet, should we believe them or not? If we don't believe them, are we not opposing God? But if we believe them, could they not be using the name of the prophet to deceive us? Speaking of dreams, there are a lot of dreams and interpretations of dreams in the Bible, especially in the book of Revelation. Of course, only prophets can interpret dreams, which brings us endless confusion. First of all, did you as a prophet really have this dream? Your dreams are not visible to others, so could you be making up some dreams to deceive us? If you really had the dream, is your interpretation correct? Could you be interpreting the dream in the opposite way? We would like to ask you, the God in the Bible, you often directly communicated with people. Why did you stop talking directly to humanity later on? Is it that the Adam and Eve on other planets also rebelled against your guidance? Why did you have to warn humanity in the form of dreams? Why not make the truth clear and straightforward? Don't you have the ability to do so? Do you not have the time? Do you have something to hide? We can give many examples to show that the God in the Bible does not possess the attributes of being uniqueness and exclusivity, amorphousness, neutrality, mystery, impartiality, mercy, supreme power, and intelligence. It can be said with certainty, the God in the Bible is not the real God. 翻译上帝的话语 Interpretation of the words of the greatest creator. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Tsong Long and Ailian. The greatest creator never directly speaks to humanity. The greatest creator's words are implicit in the laws of nature. To put it simply, the greatest creator's words are the Tao. Specifically, the greatest creator's words are the formulas of physics, the molecular formulas of chemistry, the equations of mathematics, the structural formulas of biology, and the causal formulas of life science. Therefore, those great physicists, chemists, mathematicians, outstanding doctors, and other professionals are the ones who can truly translate the greatest creator's words. Works such as the Tao Te Ching, the Yellow Emperor's Inner Classic, and the Treatise on Response and Retribution of the Supreme Clarity can be seen as translations of the greatest creator's words in social life science. In human society, those who have succeeded in various fields are those who have inadvertently followed the greatest creator's words, because they have followed the laws of the movement and development of things in their time and place. The laws are the greatest creator's words. Those who fail are those who go against the laws. People who are spiritually or materially rich are those who consciously and voluntarily follow the rules, that is, those who understand the greatest creator's words. People who are spiritually or materially poor are those who ignore the existence of the greatest creator and misinterpret the greatest creator's words. Anyone who can humbly accept education is someone who understands the greatest creator's words. Those who are stubborn, rigid, restless, inflexible, and cannot calmly contemplate are the ones who go against the greatest creator's words and are unreasonable, irredeemable, and destined to suffer. Translating the greatest creator's words requires wisdom, contemplation, and insight, a calm and peaceful mindset, a complete spiritual and divine state, and an attitude of reverence for the greatest creator, respect for deities and Buddha, love for nature, love for life, and love for humanity. I will attempt to translate some of the greatest creator's words and kindly ask for corrections from the hidden talents and potential and high-level practitioners in the world. I am the greatest creator, the supreme ruler of the universe, the commander of all the gods, the cradle of life, the birthplace of wisdom, the driving force of the universe, the energy center of the supernatural world, the oasis in the desert, and the lighthouse in the fog. I am omnipotent, omnipresent, perfect, and flawless, and I can see through everything. I have prepared the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium world for those who respect me. These are infinitely beautiful worlds where you will no longer have to worry about food, clothing, shelter, and transportation, nor will you be anxious about aging, sickness, and death, or concerned about the impermanence and disasters. You can enjoy and play to your heart's content. Therefore, you should follow my path. I have also prepared the lower realms of life, the nether world, the frozen layer, and the inflamed layer. For those who ignore my existence, insult me, blaspheme me, and betray me. You will suffer torment and eat the bitter fruit you have sown. Therefore, you should repent and ask for my forgiveness. Your life is short. Don't waste precious time on useless things. You should prioritize seeking me. If you seek me, I will appear. If you knock on my door, I will open it for you. Everything you see is fleeting and illusory. The real things are hidden behind what you see. You must learn to seek them out. Everything you have in the world will not bring you true happiness and joy. The more you have, the more you will suffer. You should pursue wisdom. Only wisdom can make you happy and blissful, and only with wisdom can I let you enter the higher level of life space. Don't make life too complicated. You should pursue a simple, ordinary, and rich life because I prefer people who have wisdom and are ordinary and plain, not just those who have power, status, and fame. Don't limit your thinking to three-dimensional space. Otherwise, you will not see other spaces. Don't deny the existence of other spaces just because you cannot see them, just like denying the existence of particles because you cannot see them. You should stay away from evil deeds. Those who steal, rob, deceive, extort, rape, kill, are greedy, and corrupt will never have a bright future. Don't have jealousy, slander, arrogance, conceit, resentment, or cunning in your heart. These things are like viral bacteria that will erode your spirituality. Do not compare yourselves to others. Be your own person, walk your own path, and do not chase after trends or fads. Do not lose your way. Humbly learn from those who are wise, listen to the teachings of the knowledgeable, and have the courage to acknowledge your own ignorance. You were born into this world to be human, so do not pursue extraordinary abilities or strive to become gods or Buddhas. Walk the path of being a good human being, and the quality of your next life will be determined by the merits you accumulate in this one. I dislike those who behave weirdly or act peculiarly. Earth is the home of humanity. Love every mountain, tree, blade of grass, every particle of earth and drop of water. Whoever destroys their home will have no home left, but those who cherish it will go to a beautiful home. How you treat me, I will treat you in the same way. I have not created many contradictory religions in the world. I have only created laws and regulations for the universe and life. Religions are created by humans yourselves. Do not build temples or churches for me, for the entire universe is where I am. Do not sacrifice animals to me, for I am the greatest creator and I do not eat such things. You should revere me with your heart and not deceive me with superficial forms. You cannot deceive me. I detest those who appear devout on the surface but hold contempt for me in their hearts. You should respect the elderly because you will also grow old. You should care for the young because in my eyes, you are also young. If you do not care for the young, I will not care for you. Respect your teachers and humbly accept education. Otherwise, ignorance and foolishness will obscure your mind, leaving you groping in the darkness for lifetimes. Observe laws and respect your rulers. There are universal laws governing all things in the cosmos. You cannot act recklessly without consequences. The right to exist as human beings is given to all of you by me. Protect your rights as human beings and resist those who would deprive you of them. Stand tall and upright like humans, not groveling like dogs. Help yourselves, and I will help you. Abandon yourselves, and I will forsake you. The population of humans on Earth is already too high. You must exercise self-control and not reproduce like animals. Otherwise, disasters will befall you by my will. This is a warning, so do not blame me for being cruel. Actively seek me out and follow my path. If you disregard my existence and do as you please, disasters will strike you at any time. Hold on tight to my hand. Please kindly critique and correct my interpretation if there are any mistakes. Your spirituality will grow, and your thinking will transcend that which arises from human nature and ethics. Stay and study in life genuine. A new life will begin. Take a broad view. You will see the faraway mountains fresh and green. Open the windows. The sunlight and fresh air will come in. 给东海一宵讲上帝. Preaching about the greatest creator to Donghai Xiao. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Tsong Long and Ailian. Confucianism reveres heaven regardless of whether it is referred to as heavenly realm, imperial heaven, or Lord of Heaven. The point is that it acknowledges the existence of a force beyond human power, a divine being that exists in the realm of the unknowable. This acknowledgement is not a sudden impulse, nor is it the result of the teachings of a particular master. Rather, it is a summary of the life experiences and practices of millions of people. If we randomly ask a few people over 60 years old, do you believe in the existence of a divine being beyond everything? I guarantee that at least half of them will not deny the existence of the heavenly Lord. This heaven, heavenly realm, Emperor of heaven, heavenly Lord, is the greatest creator. If you observe the operation of a precision CNC machine, what do you perceive? You will find that this CNC machine is working automatically with accuracy and precision. Do you think this is an innate attribute of the machine, or do you think there is someone controlling it behind the scenes? The beehive is a regular hexagonal prism with three equal rhombuses at its base. The obtuse angle of the rhombus is 109 degrees 28 minutes, and the acute angle is 70 degrees 32 minutes. Why is it this angle? Because according to scientist calculations, only this angle can maximize material savings. Now I want to ask you, are bees so intelligent? Or is there a force behind them, controlling them, just like a person controlling a CNC machine? In my chapter of The Greatest Creator, I gave dozens of such examples. Faced with such facts, will you still deny the existence of the greatest creator? Everything has a source, so where does the source lie? Everything moves, so where does the initial driving force come from? Everything has a spirit, so where does this spirit come from? There is cause and effect, and everything has a cause, but where does the initial cause come from? Everything that exists has a purpose, but what is the ultimate purpose? Life has a hierarchy, so what is the highest form of life? Can you say that the highest form of life is me, Donghai Xiao? Everything has an order, so who established this order? Are you going to say, I, Donghai Xiao, establish the order in the universe and everything in it? Everything is interrelated, and interrelation has an endpoint. So where is this endpoint? Are you going to say, the computers of the world are connected to the internet, and the endpoint of this connection is my computer, Donghai Xiao's computer? Do you still deny the existence of the greatest creator? Of course, you can say that everything is natural and formed naturally, but can you explain what nature means and how it naturally creates all the masterpieces and their operating programs in the world? All of this needs to be rigorously explained and revealed. You shouldn't just stubbornly say, nature is nature. I don't believe in the greatest creator. What can you do to me? Those who believe in the greatest creator have spirituality, wisdom, and insight. Those who don't believe in God are ignorant. The greatest creator is not the creator of any one family. Those who believe in the greatest creator shouldn't think that the greatest creator should help them solve all their problems. This is a misunderstanding of the greatest creator. The greatest creator is like the sun, shining impartially on everything in the world, including every person. As for who gets how much energy from the sun, it depends on each person's preferences and actions. If you're afraid of the sun and the light, that's your own problem, not the sun's. The greatest creator has 8 features: unique, amorphous, neutral, mysterious, impartial, merciful, superbly powerful, and intelligent. Why do I say that the God described in the Old Testament of the Bible is not the real greatest creator? Because the God in the Bible does not have the above 8 features. Why do I say that the Krishna promoted by the Krishna consciousness movement is not the real God? Because Krishna has 16,108 wives, while the real greatest creator is neutral, neither male nor female, and any statement and action of personifying the greatest creator are always incorrect. Why? 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 I won't say anymore. You can verify and judge for yourself. Why do some people vigorously resist the greatest creator of Life-Chanuan's faith? Because when the truth is revealed, the false cannot hide, so they resort to slander and resistance. If they don't defame the truth, the false cannot pass. In short, I don't expect you to believe in the greatest creator overnight, but I hope you don't rush to deny it. Use your lifetime of practice to verify it. At the end of your life, if you can say, having heard Tao in the morning, one may die content in the evening, that's enough. 人体的奥妙证明上帝存在的例证. The wonders of the human body, evidence for the existence of the greatest creator. Recommended by Xuefeng. Despite the fact that current medical understanding of the human body is still quite limited, the existing knowledge alone is enough to leave us in awe of the intricacy of human anatomy and function. Each system and organ of the body is a masterpiece of creation, and even those seemingly insignificant parts have profound purposes. For example, human hair varies in type, each with different shapes and functions, and they must not be confused. Hair on the head protects the head and also serves an aesthetic purpose, which is why it can grow very long. The Bible says that long hair is a woman's glory, hence women rarely go bald. Eyebrows are there to divert sweat and rainwater away from the eyes. Thus, they are located above the eyes and curved to the sides. Eyelashes prevent dust and foreign objects from entering the eyes, Thus, they grow on the edges of the upper and lower eyelids and curve forward in a special arc, so as not to obstruct vision. When closed, the upper and lower eyelashes interlock without poking the eyeball. If eyebrows and eyelashes grew too long, they would impede vision, which is why they never grow as long as head hair or beards. Nasal hair filters the air we breathe, growing on the inner surface of the nostrils and slanting outward. If they grew inward, foreign particles would enter easily but be hard to expel. Armpit hair reduces friction and helps evaporate sweat. Without it, people would have to keep their arms raised all day to prevent skin inflammation due to friction and moisture. Armpit hair, based on its function, can't grow as long as head hair nor as short as eyebrows, and it is fine and curly. If it were coarse and straight, it would pierce the skin. The epithelial cells of the intestines also have cilia, which grow downward and move in unison with a wave-like motion from top to bottom, aiding in the downward movement of intestinal contents. The cilia on the epithelium of the trachea and bronchi, however, grow and beat in the opposite direction, upward, to push phlegm to the throat for expulsion. If they followed the usual downward growth, the trachea and bronchi would be blocked by phlegm, making it impossible for a person to survive. Let's take two simple reflex activities of the human body as examples. When foreign objects invade the nasal cavity or trachea, they trigger two protective reflexes: sneezing and coughing, both aiming to expel the foreign objects. However, because the situations are different, the reflex methods also vary significantly. A foreign object in the nasal cavity is not an emergency, so the sneezing reflex can prepare slowly. It begins with a slow inhalation, opening the mouth, lifting the soft palate to block the nasal cavity, and inhaling enough air through the mouth. Then, the chest and abdominal cavities contract sharply, forcing air out of the lungs quickly. At the climax of the exhalation, the tongue suddenly lifts to block the mouth, forcing the air to shoot out through the nasal cavity, expelling the foreign object from the nose. However, if a foreign object enters the trachea, it is an extremely urgent situation that requires immediate removal to prevent life-threatening consequences. There is no time to waste, and inhaling is not allowed, as it would push the foreign object deeper and cause suffocation. Therefore, the coughing reflex involves no inhalation. Instead, the glottis closes immediately, while the chest and abdominal cavities explosively contract, drastically increasing the pressure of the remaining air in the lungs. When the pressure reaches its peak, the glottis suddenly opens, and the air bursts out, expelling the foreign object from the trachea through the glottis to the pharynx. At this moment, the soft palate lifts to block the nasal cavity, ensuring the foreign object is expelled through the mouth. If the tongue and soft palate acted the same as during sneezing, the foreign object expelled from the trachea would enter the nasal cavity through the back of the nasal passage, causing further trouble. In both reflex activities, various body parts must coordinate strictly. Any disruption in coordination will lead to the failure of the entire reflex activity, with potentially severe consequences. Thus, these activities are not random but follow functional requirements and predetermined procedures. These procedures are innate, present in the brain's neural structures, nerve nuclei, at birth, ensuring the survival of infants. Given the highly advanced computer technology available today, it is possible for humans to artificially simulate these activities. To achieve this, three conditions must be met. Devices that simulate the inhalation, exhalation, and sensory functions of the human mouth, nose, pharynx, trachea, and chest and abdominal cavities. Central control equipment that mimics the nervous system, computers, and input-output networks. These two components constitute the so-called hardware. However, hardware alone is not sufficient. Software is also necessary. It is a strictly designed program that controls the activities and sequences of various components, ensuring seamless coordination. All three elements are indispensable, as the entire reflex activity cannot be realized without any one of them. This software program is not a physical structure but an application of intelligence, a purely mental product. Without the application of intelligence, a program cannot be created. This raises a question. If the computer program is written and pre-stored by humans, who then writes and pre-stores the control programs in the human brain. Sneezing and coughing are merely the simplest examples. In reality, the human body performs countless automatic physiological, biochemical, and pathological control activities, most of which are far more intricate and complex than external reflexes like coughing. Some of these remain beyond human understanding to this day. So, where do these sophisticated and profound control programs come from? Let's take a look at the human sensory organs. Why do people have two ears? It turns out that a single ear cannot discern the direction of sound. With two ears positioned on either side of the head, the brain can determine the direction of the sound based on the slight difference in the time it takes for the sound to reach each ear. The outermost part of the auditory organ is the auricle, which funnels sound into the external auditory canal. The auricle contains a thin layer of cartilage that maintains its shape and provides good elasticity, preventing damage upon impact. Without cartilage, the auricle would just be two layers of soft skin hanging on either side of the head, serving no purpose. If it were made of thin, hard bone, it would break easily upon impact, and side sleeping would crush the auricle, leaving people's ears incomplete. The outer part of the external auditory canal has fine hairs to prevent dust and sand from entering, while the inner part secretes cerumen to deter insects. If a foreign object enters the external auditory canal, the reflex action triggered is not sneezing or coughing but shaking the head to dislodge the object. This is because the external auditory canal is a blind tube, and it is impossible to expel foreign objects with air. Why doesn't a foreign object in the nasal cavity trigger a head-shaking reflex to expel it? This is because the human nasal cavity is almost located in the center of the head, and shaking the head cannot generate enough centrifugal force. Additionally, human nostrils face downward, making head shaking ineffective for expelling foreign objects. Sound is produced by the mechanical vibration of objects and is usually transmitted through airwaves, known as sound waves. The human ear is essentially a sophisticated mechanical vibration detector. Within the inner ear, there is a series of basilar membranes of varying sizes, each resonating with specific frequencies to generate corresponding nerve impulses. The brain identifies the intensity, pitch, and timbre of sounds based on these neural impulses. It is noteworthy that while the human body has many sensory organs, only the inner ear is situated within the densest and most robust bone, the petrous part of the temporal bone. This is because, among all sensory organs, only the ear's function involves monitoring mechanical vibrations, which necessitates a relatively fixed coordinate. Without this fixed coordinate, the detection of sound would be impossible. If the inner ear were located within soft tissue, it would move with the sound waves, like a water lily floating on water, rendering it unable to detect any sound. However, since the inner ear is encased in solid bone, it cannot directly sense air vibrations. Therefore, it is necessary first to convert the air's sound waves into mechanical vibrations before transmitting them to the inner ear. At the bottom of the external auditory canal, there is indeed such a conversion device, the eardrum, tympanic membrane. The eardrum has a relatively large surface area to receive sufficient air pressure, and its paper-thin texture allows it to vibrate freely with incoming sound waves. Additionally, it is quite resilient and capable of driving the transmission apparatus. The long handle of the malleus bone is attached to the inner side of the eardrum, and the tension created by the malleus handle maintains a slight inward curvature of the eardrum. This tension allows the eardrum to accurately convert incoming sound waves into mechanical vibrations, and it ensures that the vibratory characteristics of the eardrum are unaffected by external temperature changes. Once sound waves are converted back into mechanical vibrations, they must be transmitted to the inner ear through a rigid object. Among the various tissues in the human body, the most rigid is the skeleton. However, most bones are too cumbersome and are wrapped in thick, soft tissue, making them completely unsuitable for transmitting audio vibrations. However, within the tympanic cavity between the eardrum and the inner ear, there are three unique, ultraminiature bones. These bones are extremely light, measuring only a few millimeters, and are almost completely exposed to the air in the tympanic cavity. They are connected by ligaments to form an arc-shaped conduction chain, possessing excellent audio vibration characteristics. This chain can accurately transmit the vibrations of the eardrum to the inner ear. This transmission system can amplify weaker vibrations appropriately and buffer overly strong sound waves. All of these features represent a highly sophisticated design that fully meets the requirements of acoustic physics. The ingenuity of the auditory organs does not end here. For the eardrum to vibrate freely with incoming sound waves, both sides of the eardrum must be exposed to air. Thus, the middle ear contains an air-filled tympanic cavity. If this cavity were filled with liquid like other body cavities, the eardrum would be unable to vibrate because liquids cannot be compressed. Moreover, the tympanic cavity not only needs to be filled with air, but must also have an appropriate channel connecting it to the outside world to balance the static air pressure in the cavity with the external atmospheric pressure. Otherwise, the air in the tympanic cavity would gradually be absorbed, causing the eardrum to retract severely or rupture, leading to a loss of function. When external air pressure changes, such as during mountain climbing, diving, airplane ascents and descents, or sudden weather changes, discomfort and hearing impairment can occur. However, the middle ear cannot be directly open to the outside like the external auditory canal or nasal cavity, as this would cause external sound waves to reach both sides of the eardrum simultaneously via the external auditory canal and middle ear canal, canceling out the sound pressure and preventing the eardrum from vibrating, thereby eliminating hearing. Therefore, the method of connecting the middle ear to the outside world becomes a complex problem. But the human body has ingeniously solved this problem with a clever design. The middle ear connects to the nasopharynx through a semi-open channel known as the eustachian tube. Normally, the eustachian tube is closed and only opens temporarily during swallowing, allowing the air pressure in the middle ear to balance intermittently. After swallowing, it closes again. Aside from eating, the human body unconsciously performs a swallowing action at regular intervals, even during sleep. This helps to adjust the air pressure in the middle ear, preventing it from affecting hearing. Moreover, during swallowing, the uvula and soft palate inevitably lift, blocking the oral cavity from the nasal cavity and temporarily isolating the pharynx from the external environment. This way, at the moment the eustachian tube opens, while air can enter the middle ear, external sound waves are blocked from entering, thus ensuring that hearing remains unaffected and can constantly receive external influences and linguistic information. Apart from the pharynx, there is no other part of the body that can so aptly meet the special requirements of the auditory system. The pharynx, being part of the digestive and respiratory tracts, does not belong to the sensory system, yet it works so ingeniously with the auditory organs that one cannot help but acknowledge the human body structure as a product of an exceptionally advanced overall design. The vestibular part of the inner ear is the organ that controls the body's balance. It contains 3 mutually perpendicular semicircular canals. When the body becomes unbalanced, the semicircular canals generate balance impulses, which, through the balance center in the medulla oblongata, trigger corresponding reflex actions to restore balance and prevent potential harm. This is one of the innate reflexes. Why are there exactly 3 semicircular canals, and not 2 or 4? And why are they mutually perpendicular? The reason is quite apparent. Because humans live in 3-dimensional space, they can move in 3 mutually perpendicular directions: front and back, left and right, and up and down. Therefore, there must be 3 mutually perpendicular semicircular canals to fully monitor these movements. Fewer than 3 would be insufficient, and more than 3 would be unnecessary. Clearly, all these precise and ingenious structures and functions demonstrate a high level of wisdom and cannot possibly be the result of mere chance. Vision is the most important sense for the human body, providing more information than all other senses combined. Vision involves the perception of images in space, requiring the visual organs to have the most precise, accurate, and distinctly different structures from other sensory organs. Therefore, from the perspective of embryology and neuroanatomy, the main structure of the eye is not an ordinary sensory organ but rather a part of the cerebral cortex. The optic nerve, unlike other cranial and spinal nerves, is essentially an internal structure of the brain, responsible for transmitting the most complex and refined visual information. Functionally, the eyeball resembles a precise camera. The retina, composed of photoreceptor cells, is akin to the film. The lens, iris, and cornea correspond to the lens, aperture, and filter, respectively. However, The eye's precision and automatic adjustment capabilities surpass those of any advanced camera. For example, camera lenses today are made of special glass or hard plastic with fixed focal lengths. To photograph objects at different distances, the lens position must be adjusted, which is a cumbersome method. Imagine if human eyes had to adjust similarly. Our eyes would have to bulge or retract when viewing objects at different distances, which would not only be aesthetically unappealing but also detrimental to eye health and function. However, the human eye's lens is a transparent, elastic, gel-like body that can automatically adjust its focal length based on the distance of objects, ensuring that all images are accurately focused on the retina without changing the lens's position. This automatic adjustment capability is something no camera can achieve. From the perspective of modern television technology, the eye resembles a television camera, but it is much more precise. Television images are composed of densely packed pixels, dots of varying brightness, and even the best television screens only have hundreds of thousands of pixels. In contrast, the human eye has about 20 billion pixels. This incredible resolution allows the human eye to perceive even the finest details. However, no matter how precise and clear, the image itself remains a flat representation. The visual images from each eye do not inherently provide a sense of depth. The key to complete vision lies in converting this flat image into a three-dimensional perception and creating a sense of space. Achieving this transformation, however, is not a simple task. For a long time, people were puzzled by this phenomenon, but it was later understood that the human body exhibits extraordinary wisdom and technique in this regard. The process involves simultaneously sending the flat images captured by both eyes to a central nervous system for comparative analysis. This analysis uses the slight difference in viewing angles between the two eyes, due to their different positions, to determine the distance of objects, creating a sense of depth and forming a three-dimensional image. This is why humans need two eyes to have complete vision. This understanding led to the creation of 3D movies. However, this description only covers the external process of vision formation, and much remains unknown about the internal workings of the visual center. We must acknowledge that the complexities of the human body's structure and functions are far beyond human wisdom. Using the parallax between the two eyes to judge distance is essentially a precise and automatic form of triangulation. To perform accurate measurement, two prerequisites are necessary. 1. Both eyes must simultaneously focus on the same target. Otherwise, double vision will occur, where one object is seen as two. To prevent this, the eyes are equipped with a highly developed neuromuscular system, making them the most agile and precise organs in terms of movement. The ciliary muscles within the eyes can adjust the lens's refractive index as needed to focus on the target, creating the sharpest image. 2. The retinas of both eyes must correspond precisely to each other. Otherwise, the images from the two eyes cannot be compared. Additionally, these corresponding images must be transmitted simultaneously to the same visual center for comparative analysis. The brain's visual centers are located on the left and right sides, each responsible for processing the respective halves of the visual field. Objects in the left side of the visual field are projected through the pupils onto the right sides of the retinas in both eyes. These corresponding images are then transmitted simultaneously via the optic nerves to the right visual center of the brain. Conversely, objects in the right side of the visual field are reflected onto the left sides of the retinas, and these corresponding images are also transmitted simultaneously via the optic nerves to the left visual center of the brain. The visual centers compare the corresponding images from both eyes simultaneously, thus creating a three-dimensional effect of the entire visual field. In the human body, the lateral organs on each side correspond to each other, such as the symmetry of the feet. However, the retinas correspond in a homolateral manner, left with left and right with right. This is because light is directed straight, and if the retinas did not correspond in this way, the visual centers would not receive matching images and thus could not produce coordinated vision. Moreover, the structural correspondence between the retinas of the two eyes must be extremely precise, with no margin for error. Otherwise, the corresponding images from the two eyes will not align properly, resulting in blurred vision. Furthermore, to ensure that the corresponding images from both eyes are transmitted to a single visual center, the optic nerves must have a special structure to achieve the crossing of images, known as the optic chiasm. This is unique to the optic nerves, as no other cranial or spinal nerves handle images and spatial information. If we were to simulate the human visual process using computers and cameras, the computer's input network would also require a similar type of crossing. No other design would suffice. In summary, it is evident that all the structures and functions of the human body's organs demonstrate an extraordinarily sophisticated pattern of intelligence, each with its necessary and well-reasoned design. Some people believe that there are organs in the human body that seem to be useless, such as the thymus, appendix, tonsils, and coccyx, suggesting that the body's structure may not be entirely rational. It was once thought that these organs had little purpose and were more likely to cause diseases like appendicitis and tonsillitis. Removing these organs appeared to have little impact on the body. In the past, even the spleen and other organs were included in this category. Historically, the list of so-called useless organs was once shockingly long, with more than 100 items. However, this lengthy list was not due to the organs being useless, but rather due to a lack of knowledge. As understanding of the human body has advanced, most of these organs have been removed from the list, leaving very few remaining. Some people believe that these organs are evolutionary remnants, referred to as vestigial organs, and use this as evidence for evolution. However, this is clearly a misunderstanding. It is now understood that there are no truly vestigial organs. Rather, the lack of understanding about these organs was the issue. For example, the thymus was once thought to have an unknown function, but it is now recognized as a crucial early warning system for combating internal and external infections. It is sensitive to infections and can activate the body's defense mechanisms to prevent more severe infections, making it essential for maintaining health. Similarly, if the coccyx were fractured, it would cause significant functional impairment, indicating that the coccyx does have a function and is not superfluous. As for causing diseases, any organ in the body can become diseased, including the heart and brain. And this does not mean that the heart and brain are harmful or useless. While some organs may not have as direct or significant an impact on the body as the heart and brain, their removal does not mean they lack function. Just as losing hands or feet does not immediately threaten life but undoubtedly results in a loss, so too is the removal of other organs a form of bodily impairment. After understanding the extraordinary intelligence reflected in the structure and function of the human body, people naturally ask where this high level of intelligence comes from. Who designed and created these complex, precise, and remarkably unique organs? This question is unavoidable. Any objective person would acknowledge that such intricately designed organ structures could not have emerged by chance, as they could not possibly be the result of random coincidence. If someone gave you a high-end automatic camera and claimed that it had no designer or manufacturer, but was a natural product, would you accept this claim as scientific? Yet, the organs of the human body are even more ingenious, precise, and adaptable than any man-made object. This leads one to recognize that there must be a creator with exceptional intelligence and ability behind the human body. One Sunday morning in the spring of 1954, when I arrived at the church, I saw a young man sitting alone there, whom I did not recognize. After talking to him, I learned that he was a student from Peking Union Medical College. He said, "Since studying human anatomy and physiology, I find the human body so marvelous that it is impossible to explain without a deity." He had come to the church seeking the correct answer. This young man's experience is not an isolated case. I remember that when we were studying anatomy and physiology at school, some classmates continually asked a physiology teacher questions, seeking answers. Eventually, the teacher, overwhelmed, said, "Don't ask any more questions. If you do, you will end up turning to religion." In the social context of that time, this warning had a significant deterrent effect, and the students fell silent. This incident left a deep impression on me, and I have not forgotten it to this day. My thought at that time was that recognizing the marvelous and creative work of the greatest creator in the created world is quite natural. The teacher's comment was indeed to the point. Although this teacher was not a Christian, he had to admit a fact: that if one continues to seriously explore the mysteries of the human body, a part of the mysteries of the universe, one would ultimately arrive at the conclusion of the existence of a deity, turning to religion. Otherwise, it simply cannot be explained. As the Bible says, For since the creation of the world, the greatest creator's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. Romans 1 verse 20. Was the teacher demonstrating true scientific spirit? No. The scientific spirit should be about seeking truth and confronting it boldly, without avoiding any contradictions. Although this teacher knew that further inquiry would lead to acknowledging the greatest creator, he was unwilling to continue on the path of truth and instead discouraged his students at a crucial moment. This incident illustrates that many people refuse to acknowledge the existence of the greatest creator not because of scientific reasons, but due to various other considerations, such as social pressures, personal interests, and concerns about future implications, as was evident in the teacher's behavior. However, the existence of the greatest creator is not altered by such considerations, and one cannot live forever under such practical considerations. Eventually, everyone will have to face the final choice and confront the supreme ruler who created the universe and humanity. The Bible says, "It is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment." Hebrews 9 verse 27. If people do not accept this eternal, the greatest creator now, it will be inescapable in the end. When we discuss the origin of the universe and all things, some young people often ask, "You say that humans are created by the greatest creator, but who created the greatest creator?" Such questions, seemingly reasonable at first glance, are actually flawed. This is because the greatest creator is the creator, not a created being. You cannot equate the creator with the created. A table is made by a carpenter, but you cannot then claim that the carpenter and the table must have the same origin. Our understanding of the greatest creator can only be based on the revelation that the greatest creator gives to humanity. Otherwise, humans would be unable to comprehend the mysteries of the greatest creator's nature. God says he is the self-existent, eternal, and ever-present God. Exodus 3 verse 14. Revelation 1 verse 8. For the greatest creator, there is only eternity, with no concept of time or beginning and end. Even in the field of science, excessive analogical questioning is not allowed. A scholar was discussing belief in the greatest creator with some students. One student arrogantly asked, "Where does the universe come from?" The scholar replied, "The universe was created by the greatest creator." The student then asked, "Who created the greatest creator?" The scholar answered, "The greatest creator is self-existent and eternal. He is not a created being." The student responded, "That seems rather unscientific." The scholar countered, "Where did the earth come from?" The student answered, "From the sun." The scholar then asked, "Where did the sun come from?" The student replied, "From a nebula." The scholar asked again, "Where did the nebula come from?" The student hesitated and reluctantly said, "The nebula came from nature." The scholar pressed on, "Where did nature come from?" The student could not continue and angrily responded, "Nature is just nature. It exists by itself." The scholar laughed and said, "Isn't that also rather unscientific?" It can be seen that even the so-called scientific answers are not very insightful. For instance, science tells us that matter is composed of molecules. So, what are molecules made of? Molecules are made up of atoms. And what are atoms made of? Atoms are made up of electrons, protons, and neutrons. But what are these particles made of? Currently, it is difficult to provide a definitive answer. Atomic physicists are working to explore so-called elementary particles. The term elementary implies that scientists do not expect matter to be infinitely divisible and believe that one day we will find the ultimate component, the elementary particle. Of course, scientists do not intend to answer what these elementary particles themselves are made of. This represents the limit, and everything stops there. Materialists claim that the universe is infinite, matter is eternal, and it is infinitely divisible, etc. But these are merely arbitrary philosophical assertions with no scientific basis. Moreover, materialist logic also has an ultimate, which is matter itself. They say matter is self-existent and eternal, but they cannot answer where matter came from. From a mathematical perspective, all numbers originate from 1, because 1 leads to 2, 2 leads to 3, and so on. extending to infinity. You cannot ask where one comes from, because one is just one and does not come from other numbers. In other words, one is the origin of all numbers. Similarly, if the greatest creator created everything, then the greatest creator is the origin of all existence. Asking where this origin comes from is evidently meaningless. 上帝在意志体现自然规律肯法则中。The will of the greatest creator is reflected in the laws and rules of nature. Xiefeng, May 192015. Translated by Transin and edited by Care. Tao is the integration of all the rules and laws of the universe and is the consciousness of the greatest creator. Therefore, the will of the greatest creator is reflected in the laws and rules of nature. If our thoughts, words, and deeds comply with the laws and rules of nature, then we will be rewarded by the greatest creator. But if they are against them, then we will be punished. Ultimate Tao cannot be reached by active pursuit. There is no way to get rewards from the greatest creator by wishing for them, no matter who you are, how pious you are, nor how much you emotionally love the greatest creator. When you go against the laws and rules of nature, you will be punished. For instance, regardless how many joss sticks we burn or how many times we kowtow in a temple, if we drink poison, we will surely die. This is the only way that things work. Merits and mistakes do not offset each other. A merit is a merit and mistake is a mistake. We will be rewarded for our merits and punished for our mistakes. No matter what great merits we have, as long as we make mistakes, even slight ones, we will be punished for them. That is to say, even if we perform 10,000 good deeds, we will still be punished for doing one bad thing. The greatest creator will not ignore a single bad thing no matter how many good things we do. So, we all suffer from illness and mishaps, be it the Pope, the hierarch, the master, the emperor, the devout disciple, or the lay person. Even a messenger of the greatest creator would not be given special grace by which to escape from the due punishment. Just do not assume that you will be saved from the consequences of your mistakes by following the greatest creator and taking his way. Therefore, the most difficult thing is to ascend to a higher space of life by self-refinery and self-improvement because it is rigorous, meticulous, precise, and non-emotional. For instance, if the standard for a mortal to ascend to immortality is 100 points, then 99 points would never be enough. It is just like the 81 hardships experienced by Monk Tang. Not one single hardship could be missed in order for him to succeed. Therefore, we must remember that when we encounter sorrows, setbacks, and failures, they are hardships that we must traverse. This is karma. The sin we sow can only be dispelled by reaping a painful consequence. There is no alternative. Of course, we should never doubt the justice and mercy of the greatest creator. Absolutely beautiful things can only be enjoyed by the absolute life. Absolutely beautiful things are boundless and endless, and when we want to enjoy these unending and boundlessly beautiful things, we should focus on examining our lives and ask ourselves, is mine an absolutely beautiful life? If not, we should focus our self-refinery and self-improvement on improving our quality of life, rather than on absolutely beautiful things. When our quality of life reaches the absolutely beautiful realm, then absolutely beautiful things will come to us. Let us bear all the miseries, frustration, and suffering with delight and march firmly toward the perfection and beautification of life. Merits and mistakes cannot be offset. The will of the greatest creator is reflected by the laws and rules of nature. Let us strictly follow these rules and laws of nature and trek and climb, step by step, to the highest realm of life. 上帝在哪里？如何敬畏上帝？ Where is and how do we revere